So I'm gonna tell you a quick story what really happened with Windrush. Oh, believe me, I was there. Word for word. Check this. Me say from 1948 go back to 1971. Then tell me catch a boat and come up in England. Come and earn the pound and leave with pretty island. Then send an invitation to the whole Caribbean. So me call Auntie Sue and Uncle Winston. Me tell them get a suit because we go to England. Next thing police them want for trouble, I man. They come up in my face them want for ask question. But hear them ask me, where you from and did you come here on the boat? And if you did, tell me where your passport. You cannot show me, then we have to go to court. Man, them police say a joke, so me tell them, Mr. Police, don't you ever waste my time. Me make money, me make crime. So next time you feel you want to check, me no take disrespect. So me tell them, boy, them need for hush. Me come here pan Windrush, so me tell them, me say them boy, them need for hush. Me come here pan Windrush.
Hello, my name is Jamila Boothman, and this film is to commemorate the UK's third Windrush Day. You may remember that last year I organised the UK's first ever Windrush Festival because I truly believe that it's a story that needs to be told and remembered. Windrush was a moment, but Windrush is a symbol of hope, resilience and migration. I hope you enjoy this film. Happy Windrush Day.
I came to England with my mother in 1958, 61 years ago. We followed the typical migrant pattern. My dad came a few years earlier, saved some money and sent for me and my mum. They both worked for a couple of more years, saving up to send for my two other brothers. In the meantime, the family grew in England with the birth of my sisters. Both my parents were professionals in the Caribbean, but became unskilled in England. I went to private school in St. Kitts, where white children were the minority. No problem for them. I went to state school in England and encountered direct racism for the first time and literally fought my way through junior and secondary school, taking on both teachers and pupils physically. I marched and laid siege to police stations, the National Front local offices. I fought with the police and the NF on the streets. I joined the Royal Marines, and only to find that there were two enemies and that the racists within were the most threatening and dangerous. I fought both. I went to university and discovered firsthand that the notion of education removes prejudice and racism was a myth, and that it better equipped racists in the use of disguise. I took jobs in the inner cities, predominantly with black youth, and tried to give them hope whilst knowing full well that change won't happen in their time. I continued to work and push for change with the hope that Cara, you and all the others would not have to have this expenditure of energy. But here you are in 2020, having to try and change things for Ruby. I can't count the amount of legislation about race and equality that has been written and passed into law in this country since I arrived. All I know is it's a lot, and has it made any difference? Yes, it has. It has eased white people's conscience. It has provided them with convenient alibi and explanations for not addressing the root of the issue. It has fooled large numbers of black people into becoming complacent because we have an equal opportunities policy. Race became an industry which demonized black youth who were prepared to take on the institution. So-called black leaders sold out black youth and vilified the only black politician who was prepared to stand up for and shoulder to shoulder with black youth. I'm talking about Bernie. They got a bloody good hiding grant.
My name is Eleanor. I came by the SS Antilles and I left Trinidad. We were known as the British West Indies. So it was a big thing for us to come here and find out that they knew nothing about the outside world as far as they're concerned. They knew nothing about the outside world. You know, so it was just hilarious to us, you know. But we didn't take it on because, as I said, ignorance, and they didn't know better. And that was because they went nowhere. They didn't used to go anywhere. All they knew about it was Bognor Regis and Skegness and Butlins. That's all. Until Freddie Laker come and open up the way for them £99 return. 99 pounds one way to go to the West Indies, and then they all running like flies to get some sun.
Some of the biggest shocks I got growing up in post-Windrush England were when I thought I'd achieved something significant. So, for instance, some of the things that I considered to be significant achievements were obtaining a black belt, qualifying as a solicitor, getting a law degree. What I discovered was that when you get the feeling that you've finally made it, actually, you haven't. You've only just started on the long road to actually lifelong learning. And sometimes the learning is quite painful. And there was one occasion when I went to pick up a client's belongings from a British Transport Police. And upon seeing me, the police officer refused point blank to hand over the belongings. I mean, needless to say, the client was a young black man who was suspected of mugging. But somehow, even though I could present credentials about who I was and where I was coming from, and he'd spoken to me, he just couldn't bring himself to hand over the belongings to this young black man. And I encountered several experiences like that, some of them which made me quite angry, to be honest.
Windrush Day, very, very important day for us. My grandparents came here in the 50s and laid the foundation for me to do what I'm doing today. And without them and their bravery and the camaraderie to come and rebuild this country after the Second World War, I don't think we would have such an inclusive Britain, even though, yes, we do have a lot of issues. But my granddad has just passed at the age of 87. And even though I'm sad, I'm also happy because of what he has done and what my grandparents have laid before me in terms of the foundation. So it's very, very important to me that we celebrate this day. It's very momentous. And we've got to keep our culture going. We've got to keep our traditions going and make sure that we come together and continue to do what they did, you know, back in the 50s and 60s in the spirit of the Caribbean.
My family is from the amazing island of Trinidad and Tobago in the West Indies, and I am born and raised in the wonderful London town. Remember to embrace your culture.
There is definitely such a thing as Black British. You know, Black British is the cohesion of all of the many different cultures, you know, Nigerian, Jamaican, St. Lucian, Antiguan, Gambian, Sierra Leonean, Ghanaian, I could go on, that make up the Black British diaspora. It's the culture we form together, from the music we've created like grime, from the music that we enjoy like bashment, from the food we enjoy, jollof rice, wache, rice and peas and chicken, patty, from the slang, from the language we developed, you know, MLE, multicultural London English. It's a way of life. It's a feeling. It's a spirit. Black Britishness is vibrant. It's you know, it's strong, and it's a unifying feeling. That when I look at other Black Brits, regardless of whether they're from the Caribbean or whether they're from Africa, I feel a brotherhood, a sisterhood. I feel a familial energy of these people, a bond.
When you take a look at British society, the media, the workplace, the government, the criminal justice system, the charity sector, anywhere, the picture is clear to see. In fact, statistics provide clarity even for those who still refuse to accept the numerous accounts that are provided by black and minority ethnic people all over the UK. It is absolutely not the lack of talent, passion, education that results in these figures. It is systemic racism on every level that has created a situation where important opportunities are blocked and hidden from black people. There is also the issue of tokenism, where people are placed in positions only so that employers can reference their presence, but for whom the experiences are described as isolating. Inner circles within the in-crowd make self-doubt and imposter syndrome inevitable and prevent any real opportunity for valid and authentic diverse contribution for the few token black people in position. If you feel safe and loved, your brain becomes specialised in exploration, play and cooperation. If you're frightened and unwanted, it specialises in managing feelings of fear and abandonment. This applies not only to the workplace. Disillusioned black Oxford students have recently spoken out as being unwilling to help attract others. The main question of the Windrush generation, of their children, of their grandchildren, of their great-grandchildren, is what more do we have to do? We helped to rebuild this country after the war. Many fought in that war for Britain. We have played a key and vital role where it comes to culture, entertainment, sports, and the associated victories credited to Great Britain. You have only to attend Notting Hill Carnival to see that it is not only enjoyed by black Caribbean people. Then came the Windrush scandal. Let's send these people back to where they belong. Worse still, just yesterday, in 2020, Windrush survivors delivered a petition to Downing Street calling on the government to speed up compensation payments for those who were wrongly detained and deported. We have put in the work. We have stood on the front line. We comprise a disproportionately large share of key worker sectors. We have been exposed to this virus and more. We have died at disproportionately high rates from COVID, and still, when you look at the official pictures and publicity for NHS heroes, where are our faces? Following the murder of George Floyd, when we took to the streets in peaceful protest alongside a number of white allies, we appeared in the headlines, not as protesters, but rioters. Rioters who would be held responsible for the possible second wave. Where was that media concern the weekend before as people enjoyed the seaside? Or the weekend after when racist rioters were labelled protesters? When will we be treated fairly? When will we start considering that sometimes the right person for the job happens to be black? When will police stop racially profiling black children? When will those in a position to do something acknowledge that adopting an anti-racist approach to recruitment will actually provide employers with the best teams? When will teachers stop imposing their bias on students? When will schools and companies work together to create a more robust careers provision to ensure that minority ethnic students can be reached and get the exposure to meaningful work experience before becoming disengaged? When will there be justice for Grenfell victims? When will someone be charged for the New Cross fires? When will the police be held accountable for what happened to Rashawn Charles? When will the other murderers of Stephen Lawrence be jailed? When will we have social justice? Justice delayed is justice denied. Look at the figures. Things are as bad, if not worse, for our children. Because black Caribbean pupils are 3 times more likely to be permanently excluded than white British pupils. 42% of prison inmates were expelled from school as pupils. 25% of prisoners are black and minority ethnic, despite making up only 14% of the population. Now, knowing that, alongside the fact that white British people account for 92.9% of head teachers, 89.7% of deputy and assistant head teachers, and 85.1% of classroom teachers. What does that tell you? The lack of diversity, alongside the lack of cultural competence amongst the ranks of leaders and decision makers on all levels in society, is shocking. Criminal, actually. Can we stop seeking to blame single-parent homes for disproportionately high exclusion of black children? Can we consider a push towards cultural competence and developing diversity in whole school decision-making and policies? Reviewing uniform policy alone would ensure that children like Ja'Kezia Flanders were not excluded and denied of their rights to a basic education because of a hairstyle, which in his case was religious and cultural, as opposed to a political or fashion statement. Schools must seek to value and understand the religion and culture of their students, as well as the communities that they serve. Inclusion within a leadership team promotes inclusion throughout an organisation, throughout a society, in fact. We cannot talk about diversity of thought. Diversity is the byproduct of different experiences, cultures, and journeys. If you cannot be what you cannot see, let's think about The View. We barely exist in leadership roles across all sectors. We have been brutalised and sexualised in every way possible. We are blamed for most of the knife crime in the country. We appear in the news only as tragic headlines and perpetrators. You cannot be what you cannot see, and so you see things must change. Just because there's no sign on the door saying no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, it does not mean that it is not implied and applied within British society.
So I'm gonna tell you a quick story what really happened with Windrush. Oh, believe me, I was there. Word for word. Check this. Me say from 1948, go back to 1971. Then tell me catch a boat and come up in England. Come and earn the pound and leave with pretty island. Then send an invitation to the whole Caribbean. So me call Auntie Sue and Uncle Winston. Me tell them get a suit because we go to England. Next thing police them want for trouble, I man. They come up in my face and want for ask question. But hear them ask me, where you from and did you come here on the boat? And if you did, tell me where your passport. You cannot show me, then we have to go to court. Man, them police say a joke, so me tell them, Mr. Police, don't you ever waste my time. Me make money, me make crime. So next time you feel you want to check, me no take disrespect. So me tell them boy, them need for hush. Me come here pan Windrush, so me tell them, me say them boy, them need for hush. Me come here pan Windrush.